Hello.
Hello.
Justin and I are here today to talk about Visions, the Ninth Jedi, music and
Aha.
sound therein.
Music and sound were in exactly. What did you think of this? We're probably going to get
Yeah.
into this, but
I mean, overall, I thought this was a very this was very smooth. Like, I don't know, it it wasn't like terribly unique, but it was like really smoothly done. You know what I mean? Like, it was very like it felt very professional.
yeah, no, I would agree.
Like,
I
I
would
don't know
agree
if
with
that's
that.
like a weird way to describe it, but it felt really professional. Yeah.
I mean, besides beautifully, and I mean, every one of these episodes have been beautifully animated. Um, this one felt very. I know. We always have the discussion of what makes Star Wars, what is the Star Wars aesthetic, and those things. And this one has been was very on point to me. It was
Very
very
on point. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything from the look to the story, and especially the music this round. It
Oh
was
yeah, I thought you were just talking about the music, but like yeah,
no, the whole
but
thing
like
was
the whole
just
thing totally. But the music, like definitely.
oh yeah, oh yeah. There's even some parts that I was thinking to myself, where have I heard this before? Where have I heard these parts before?
Yeah,
Little
isn't that something?
little quotes or shout outs. I'm sure we'll get to a couple of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't think I heard any direct quotes. I don't think. But I heard a lot of things in the style of like in a very like to a very large degree.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there were a quote as in like here is oop there it is everything's moving. In no way that like here's this Star Wars theme, let's put it in there, but there is some close moments, some very close moments that I was hearing. It had that very sweeping strings and orchestral sound to it, and um, even later, and the classic uh, chase sequence kind of music that
Yep.
John Williams would
It
like
had
to
another
do.
yep. It had that asteroid field feeling to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With like the xylophone and a lot of the syncopated rhythms. I feel like we've mentioned this for a few episodes now because I mean, a lot of them are doing this too. I mean, and yeah, I think Star Wars yeah, okay. Well, let's be a little bit more specific about what we're talking about. Um so I will say that like one of the parts that made me that really like perked me up and made me think of another Star Wars film was okay, it's like a part where there was like an oboe solo where it was like
Mm.
um okay. And the chords underneath it were like
Mm.
it was like
Yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
and then it was like
Yes.
and I was like, that's across the stars.
Yeah, exactly. And that little fake out cadence at the end where you're like, and
That
kind of
was just so that was so across the stars for like a couple reasons. One being just like the way that it settles in that measure on like the dominant chord, I guess you could say, like
Mhm.
where it's like so it goes. Oops, sorry. So we're in G minor here, and the little woodwind, I think it was oboe solo moment. It kind of is like it goes to E flat major, and then it does the classic subdominant Neapolitan to dominant.
Yes.
I should voice this better. been a long time since music school. No, my Jesus. And then the minor sixth leap, which is characteristic of Across the Stars. And it went. And then the theme itself, like the Ninth Jedi prologue theme, I guess, itself is like the dial. It's like the Star Wars dial is like turned up on the harmonies, at least. Yeah. Which is funny because it sounded like both Across the Stars and then it sounded like the Force.
Yes, I was getting a lot of Across the Stars.
Hey, Jonah.
And I want to say Ray's theme, not not the melodies themselves, but there's a couple moments that it just the had some it's familiar to me. It's just it's had
Yeah, I definitely felt that too. I'm curious, Jonah, did you feel that, or like anyone watching this, did you get Rey vibes? Because the Ninth Jedi, I guess I would call it like the main Ninth Jedi theme, being that this, you know, it very obviously like is oriented around the Dorian mode, which is like has that raised sixth, and so is Rey's theme.
Yeah.
So I think so that's what I mean. Like the Star Wars dial is just harmonically speaking, and harmony refers to like mainly the chords basically. Harmonically speaking, the Star Wars dial was turned up a lot. So like it, it really it recalled other Dorian moments.
Absolutely, and not only with the harmonies, but with the melody as well. It was a very thematic episode. There was a point where I wanted to just write down every moment we heard this theme, and I kind of was like, you know what? It
It's
just keeps
so
coming
many,
in.
right?
It just keeps coming in.
I know. Like when I was thinking about like what parts like I was gonna prepare, I was just like,
Same here.
if I played that, you could say that happened anywhere, and I don't
This one
even
wasn't
I don't
this
even
one.
know confidently that I know all of the times that it happens.
Yeah, I just gave up at a certain point. I was like, no, it's
It's everywhere.
There's a couple variations with it. They do a good job. The composers, Nobuo was doing a really good job.
It's
Kind
two
of very
composers, right?
two composers, right? Yeah. You're right. Of all the names I wrote down on this one, for some reason I didn't write down the composers this round. I usually do. I was trying to get all the character names down.
And it was Jinnouchi, Kazuma, Jinnouchi. I think they're a team because I listened to some more of their work over the week, and I definitely have seen them. I think I've seen them collaborate on other music, but yeah, there were a lot of variations.
Nobuko Toda and Kazuma Jinnouchi.
Jinnouchi, yeah. But shout out to anyone here watch Resistance, Star Wars Resistance?
Yeah.
Kaz.
Yeah, a lot of variation, and then they did a very great job at emulating the kind of Star Warsy, John Williamsy through composed style. With these little brass swells that come in, these dissonant brass, and these sweeping little. There was one moment that always, I think I know when we were talking about the Village Bride, we kind of brought up
I was just like, I hope we
yeah,
compare this to the Village Bride.
yeah. We kind of we were talking about fantasy music, and we kind of brought up Lord of the Rings a little bit. And I think Howard Shore's score for Lord of the Rings has ruined me because anytime I hear the
Wait, I'm actually not super familiar with Lord of the Rings. I've
Mm.
only maybe seen a couple of them once, but like I don't remember. Like, and I've never listened to the scores in isolation. What can you? I'll play that on the piano. I want to get a clear sense of what you're talking about. Like, what's the thing that you just hummed?
The one from what I remember from the movies, I was a big fan of the soundtracks. I used to listen to these soundtracks all the time as a growing up, and it's the part that goes.
Oh, that sounds like everything.
I know, but that's why I'm saying for some reason it's such a thematic element for the
Just
elves
ask
and
any
mysticism.
minimalist composer.
Right, right. Anytime I hear it, especially on strings, I just go, ah, Lord of the Rings.
But
Um, but
wait,
that's my
okay.
association. That's my association with it.
No, that's
Yeah.
this is actually like this is a very good point. Um, I wonder, okay, because I have a similar thing with like other themes that to me I'm like, oh my god, I heard that theme again. But like in my heart of hearts, I know that probably it's just super common. Like just my brain has decided to latch onto it as being, for example, the Batman theme,
Yeah.
which is
Oh, that's
weird because I'm not even a big Batman person, but like I happen to know that theme, that
true. Hmm,
that,
hmm.
and hearing it so anytime it pops up, which it pops up in Star Wars properties quite a bit, I'm just always like, it's the Batman, it's the Batman, and clearly it's not like that implausible of a set of notes to
No,
occur
no.
in a minor, you know, like what you just or what did you just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so I mean again that's like not
No,
terribly
not at
unique.
all. But it's funny how these certain combinations of notes or sequences of notes have these different associations for all of us. To me, it's fantasy. It's like I said, it's Lord of the Rings. For you, it's Batman theme
Yeah.
and and minimalist music. Oh, that's all. It's everywhere. It's a seventh. That it's kind of a right. It's a yeah. That's a major seventh, just with the
Wait,
root up on
what
top, isn't it?
what?
I don't.
No, it
Well,
just goes up to a minor six.
yeah, they put the B flat. See, I don't. I'm terrible at music theory, so forgive me.
Oh,
Hit the B flat on the bottom, and then it becomes a
I see.
right.
Oh, I see. Oh yeah, I mean yeah,
But then
interesting.
if
You can
you
think
do
of
it with the minor on the the minor as the focus, then
right.
it becomes a more of a.
Sounds like every song I wrote in college.
Seventh chords everywhere, and then you discover ninths, and you're like, "Oops."
I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. All right, so I'm flustered. Okay,
It's okay.
so I actually have while it's fresh, I have an example.
Hmm,
Um, so tell me if you can spot if tell me if you can remember when this occurred.
hmm.
And it's not really thematic.
Okay. Hmm. Sounds like the track that's when we're in the first meeting all of our Jedi in the Jedi Temple. It's got this low, kind of not creepy, but creeping
Hmm.
kind of element to it.
Crap, I don't actually remember. that's not the part that I'm thinking of, but I'm not
Mhm.
positive that it wasn't also there.
Right, again, because this
Yeah.
they're really good at bringing these themes in so many times. Not
Yeah.
themes, but these feelings in so many times. That's my best guess. Anybody in the chat know?
I'll play it again.
Go ahead again,
It is on
please. Yeah.
violin. This is the correct instrument and octave and everything.
Yeah. It's shouting Margrave to me. Any
Oh,
for some reason.
interesting.
It's shouting these before the Margrave is Juro is revealed um, later
So
on in the
I'll tell you the
episode.
answer.
Yeah.
And the answer is right at, hold on, do you know the Margrave?
Aha!
You're exactly right. So maybe that's a Margrave. Maybe it's the Margrave theme.
Possibly, which is funny because the reason why I was thinking it was around then because I'll just give this example away. Is right around there we have this moment. It's on a flute, but a lower flute. So I might be in the wrong octave, but there's this part. That comes in.
And it's right before then?
It's right around when they're talking about.
Oh, it's afterward, right?
I think it's just after. It's
Yeah.
just after what you were talking about. When do you know the Margrave? And then this is when I'll give this one. It's when they first meet the droid that comes out and says that you've all gathered, blah 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 blah. And he says the Margrave, he's just an eccentric old man that's like being
Mm.
cooped up in his castle. Um, and it's this very low. And actually, what's interesting is I actually played it too pure of tone. It has
What
this
do you
very
mean?
the one thing Western classical flutes try to never do is have an airy tone in a way,
Oh, oh.
which in a lot of other flutes around the world is a cool thing. Um, kind of a thing. So really, this flute, when it was played in the soundtrack, sounds a little bit more.
That
That's more
sounds
of an air
awesome.
tone. I love that stuff. I want to say it was. I want to say it was a bass flute. It might have been an alto flute. Alto flutes can get pretty low, but this one went really low. Um, Alto flutes. If this is a standard C instrument flute, the alto would be a little bit bigger, and then the bass flute gets so big that it actually wraps around up here.
Yeah, it's
So you
really,
kind
yeah,
of
it's
end
they're
up holding
big.
it like this. And then the
Are they
contrabass
heavy to
flute was
hold? Are bass flutes like hard to
they're
manage the
heavy.
weight?
They actually come with what right around the thumb here, this thumb. There's actually a an extra attachment to help like a little what's it called crutch that'll hold it to help
Oh,
you hold the flute
interesting.
itself that alto flutes don't come with. And then after that, it's the contrabass flute, which I love. Those look like those stand on their end. They're about as tall as me, if not taller, and they
Like a
look like a giant.
contrabassoon?
Yeah, they look like a giant four.
That's funny. That's a funny way to describe
Actually,
it. Jonah
was it?
says, dude, that sounded cool. I agree.
Thank you, Jonah.
Um,
Um,
yeah, Justin, love the
you're
flute
inspiring me with the
examples.
you're inspiring me with the violin all the time. So I figured I got to bring up my instrument for once.
The Jonah earlier said that it sounded sad. I think that's interesting. Do you think it sounded sad? I don't think
Yeah,
it. I don't think it didn't sound sad. I'm just curious the vibes that you were getting.
to me it doesn't. I don't disagree because sad music generally has this minor chord kind of a feel. This.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
right. And then you add that one, and then it's fantasy, right? But to me, it's almost a mysterious feel to it. We don't quite know because at this point in the episode, we don't know. Spoiler alert, everybody, if you haven't seen it yet. If the Margrave is good or bad, and they do a really good job with this very mysterious, deep, slow-moving music to kind of build up this mistrust of the Margrave from right off the bat, and not the other seven Jedi. Right there, because they're all questioning who's the
See,
Margrave.
I
Do you know
didn't
him? Do
think
you
that
know
the I didn't th- I didn't perceive it as sad, although I didn't perceive it as happy either.
him?
Mysterious, maybe. It was like for me, maybe lonely. Not necessarily even lonely
Hmm.
and like feeling lonely. And it may be just because like of the use of like solo instruments here. So like having um like it just sounded more solitary or like more I don't even know how to describe it, like walking the path alone or just like still not I guess mysterious would be a good word because but it wasn't like overt over the top like you're going to feel mysterious right now.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I like that answer. I like that response to it. It's because I mean they mention
It's
right
like
there that he's
TBD is like how.
yeah, yeah, and they mention right there that he's alone in a way. At least we think he is. He's cooped up. At least as the droid describes him, or I guess as himself describes himself, is an eccentric old man.
Jonah says
Uh,
sad music and mystery music can sometimes be one and the same for me. Oh,
ooh,
absolutely. I think
oh yeah,
like all these things have a lot of descriptors. Like I think there can be like mysterious but pleasant. I think there can be like mysterious sad, mysterious
mm-hmm.
anxious, mysterious exciting. Like I think there's lots of flavors and there can be like, you know, there's okay, this is kind of off topic, but there's this app called there's this app called Mood Meter and
What?
you it asks how are you doing right now? Okay. I don't really use this too much, but okay, then you could say you click I feel and then it gives you these options and it gives you 4 quadrants. It says high energy unpleasant, high energy pleasant, low energy unpleasant, and low energy pleasant,
Huh.
like this.
Uh huh.
And then so if I click like high energy pleasant, then within that it gives or like it basically it opens up this whole like it's like a quadrant. It's like quadrants basically. It's like from high energy to low energy and from pleasant to unpleasant. And within that, like it's honestly teaching me so much about like how to name how to name feelings because I'm not good at that. I'm not good at that. But this is like if I choose high energy pleasant, but like the most medium. Okay, yellow's not a good example. So if I choose, so sorry, this is like this is so if I'm in low energy low pleasantness, which is blue. Um, I can choose these different things, and it gives names. So like it'll be like apathetic, and then if I go more low energy, it'll be like bored, tired, fatigued, drained. And then if I go more toward unpleasant, it would be like spent, desolate, hopeless, despair. If I go like up, it'll be like I don't know. It's interesting because if I'm
Interesting.
in low energy but pleasant, the most moderate version of that, which is like high pleasantness and low energy, but not too low energy. I don't know. It's at ease. And then as you go to more and more pleasant, it goes easygoing, content, loving, fulfilled.
Interesting.
Anyway, there's like a
Interesting.
ton of descriptors here, which, can apply, when talking about music or trying to specify. I mean, it's meant for like mood tracking, but it's just interesting to see the names for things and having them described as like either more higher energy or lower energy, and then like higher on the pleasantness scale or lower, because there are so many shades. And when we just say like happy and sad or whatever, sometimes
Right,
we
right.
mean a different shade of, within this. Yeah.
I like
So
that. It's
mysterious
interesting.
sad sounds very plausible.
Mysterious sad.
Okay. Do
Good
you
song
have any
genre.
examples to play? Any other examples to play?
Yes, actually. I did do one based around the theme, but this one had a bit of a variation, so maybe we can point it out. It was also one of my favorite scenes that I've seen in Visions. Yet
Oh.
for some reason, it's one of the more unique things. I mean, it's all you know what I mean.
Hmm.
It's all fantastic and unique. Um, let's see here. Mm. And then I lost it at that point.
Oh my gosh. Vibes, Justin, vibes. Is that when Kara is with her father?
Almost,
Okay.
almost.
Huh. That sounded like the sort of Across the Stars fake out moment, but oh, was it that
Almost. Oh, that's all.
almost?
It's it.
Yeah, because
I'll
like
give you
these
this.
things
It's in the
repeat a
same.
lot. Okay.
I know that. I'll give you this. It's in. I think it's in the same track on the soundtrack that you're thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I see why you would think it's Kara and her father. Um, but this is on the instrument. Actually, this was a flute moment, a good flute moment. I love finding these now. And one of the it doesn't start with a character. It does
Oh,
this doesn't start looking at a character.
I don't know.
Any guesses from the chat where this little flute moment might have been?
Like it sounds familiar, but I'm not connecting it to a visual, if that makes
Gotcha,
sense.
gotcha.
Like there was, can you play it again? There's this one part especially where I was like, where it was very distinct.
Hmm, hmm.
Right, this part, that part.
And then the flute goes on just for like a second before the strings come up, and then the strings take over the
Jonah
rest
has
of
a
it.
guess. Okay, that
Ooh,
it's like a really beautiful cadence. That part. I mean, it's like the same cadence that we've been talking, but I just like the melody associated with it. So Jonah says, "I think this is when we first cut to the planet."
yes, yes,
Jonah's back.
yes, Jonna. This is the part that first appears. We see the ring of the planet, and we see these awesome trebuchet claw things
Trebu.
launching into space.
What's a
And
trebuchet
a trebuchet was a
other than a
old
font?
yeah, right. Trebuchets were old catapults is what they were, and they used a big weight to swing and launch things back in like medieval times, I want to say. But yes, this is basically when we first meet Kara. Um,
Jonah. That's exactly Jonah just said when we basically meet our main character.
Yes, we meet Kara, and somehow I've been dying to say this. I've been dying to say this.
Okay, say it.
Somehow, so we had R2D2, and
Somehow,
then no, not some. Oh, we
Palpatine has
did.
returned.
Yeah, right. So he's back again. No, I mean we had R2D2 and he was cute, and then somehow Disney says, you know what, we're gonna make a cuter droid, and they come out with BB-8, and gosh darn it, they Visions does it again. Or Visions comes in and comes
Are
out
you
with
a
four
Four
nines.
Nines
I
fan?
love four nines. Oh my goodness, I want one. I want I want my little army of BB-8s and four nines now.
Oh my god.
Love four nines.
Do my bidding.
So cute. Yes, this is where we meet four nines and Kara.
This score was a fan of the runs up to the tonic, huh? Like the on the violin
Yeah.
too, like that was off tune. But yeah,
Oh
like
yeah.
all the like yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting because depending on like what theoretic how do I put this? Oftentimes in music or like when learning music or even when writing music, those sort of like fast notes in between can be thought of as like ornaments
Mhm.
or things that aren't like part of the they're kind of they're kind of treated in a separate category as I don't know, the longer notes, like the more goalposty notes, like you could go like but if you really wanted to like go for it, you could go like
Mhm.
you could
Mhm.
that's what yeah, they're called ornaments because sometimes they just sound like fancy and
Extra.
like
Yeah, extra.
yeah, like adornments. And in some music it's like it's not really part of the music. It's just I mean like it's not part of the sheet music or
Mhm.
it's meant
Mhm.
to be something that you play around with as a performer. It's meant more for the performer side than the composer side. Um and
And especially with these.
some schools of theory include that and some schools of theory do not. Which doesn't like really matter for the purposes of our conversation here because music theory I think is descriptive, not like prescriptive.
Yeah.
So it's not like the composers are trying to follow one music theory school over another. It's more just like people like us can choose how much weight we place on those things. But yeah, this score had a lot of that.
Runs, passing
Passing tones.
passing tones. I guess you could I guess you could some books would argue with glissando, but I
Mm.
always think glissando is more of a slide personally than a I mean, when on flute in Western flute music, it'll say glissando, and it really just means run because we can't we can't make those slides, kind of a thing.
Oh, that is interesting. You would say glissando for a run?
In a way, I've seen it, or even in piano, an organ
Well, on piano it
scores,
makes. Oh, I guess I didn't.
because
Yeah, I
they
mean,
do
because on piano,
the yeah, exactly.
like you're not going to be getting like microtones between. You're just going to get what the notes are. But on violin, when you're doing that, it's like
Exactly, or
you're not getting
trombone.
defined. Like that would be a run or something.
Exactly, on flute, it's the same thing. Since we can't make those slides or those, I mean,
You
as
have to,
fast.
yeah, you have to commit to certain.
Yeah, it still has to do the thing. They'll
Oh,
sometimes give us a scale to do it, and then at that point, you're just
if it says glissando, is it like implied that they want it as more of an effect and they don't really care about the notes? So you can kind of be like or whatever.
I think it depends. Usually, if it's a keyed instrument, they'll probably want it in the scale or key that you're in, the mode or whatever. So you're not just like we're in
That's
this like
so
dark thing,
tricky if
and
they
then
were to
it's
write it like that.
C major glissando out of
That's
nowhere, kind of
tricky.
a thing. Oh yeah. Well then, sorry again, off topic, but French flute music uh,
Oh.
loves to write out the glissando very specifically, so or the gliss kind of feel. So you'll get music, 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 music,
That makes
lots of
sense.
ink,
That makes
lots of
sense for
ink
French.
all of a sudden, but it
That
still
makes
needs
sense for French impressionists.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to stay within that mood, kind of a
Oh
thing.
my gosh. So what other things were we reminded of? Like we talked about Across the Stars,
Mm-hmm.
the harmony there and the minor sixth leap and really honestly the instrumentation there too. And then also there was like the asteroid field type or the TIE fighter,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sort of like original trilogy set piece theme, like action scoring, I guess. Okay. There was one part where I swear it reminded me of the Trade Federation.
I
Did
think I
you?
might. I I think yes, yes. I wonder if we're thinking of the same part here then,
Yeah, it was
because
in.
I've been trying to name it in my head, but every time I hear it in the score of this episode, Ninth Jedi, it brings me back to episode one for
And,
some reason.
hmm. And I'm not sure if it was like, I think it was in To the Aerial Temple.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like sort of marchy, but I couldn't pinpoint like a super specific thing. I will say though that this episode, a lot of the music had like this 3 note, like, or like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it went like also down. You know what I mean? Like, dee, 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 dee. Nope. Now I'm singing March of the Resistance. Crap.
The
Dee,
part I
dee, 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 dee,
it had a lot of that in there.
wow, I changed a lot of keys there, but yeah, there was something like that, and then there
Yeah,
was something that was not Star Warsy at all, or at least not Star Wars filmy at all, but was more like Star Wars cartoony,
which one?
and I think it was when there was like a kind of jazzy creeping around music
Mm.
with like marimba. Too bad James isn't here for that, but there's like marimba and saxophone,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, droid, I need you to take us to the aerial temple immediately. Like that part. I'm on my brick.
Yeah.
Find another pilot. Like that whole like kind of humorous.
Yes, yes. I wrote that one of those parts down because I wanted to point out the same thing. This wasn't it. All of a
Oh
sudden, we got
please.
kind of got more classical in a sense than
What do you
neoclassical.
mean? Oh,
I
I
guess
see.
like neo. I always find a lot of these older movie scores, John Williams stuff, have this kind of neo romantic, neo classical, Western classical kind of sense, and not just because it's an orchestra, but because it still follows some
Yeah.
cadences. But this it got a little bit more. The part, especially I'm thinking of, was the so you're thinking boom, ba-dum,
Yes.
ba-da-da-da,
Definitely.
ba-da-da. And then there's this great part when she holds up the coin to him, and he's like, "I might as well." There's this great
Like it was Mickey Mouse. Yes.
da 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 kind of a thing. I loved that part. Those stories are great.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? So like that felt more like in line with cartoons or like the Star Wars cartoon world. Which I think is interesting. Like I guess this episode really um married the two schools of scoring there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Would that be neoclassical? I mean, it doesn't matter. Um,
It
but
gave
it
me
felt
that
like definitely distinctly different from like the rest of the score.
absolutely, yeah. And it was comical almost because it was our one little moment of kind of comedy in this episode where the droid says I'm on my break and he's steaming himself some tea. I don't know what's going on here. Pouring tea and then steaming it through his system. Find another droid and they're all broken or not functioning, as she says.
I wonder. Oh, now I'm super curious what the like work distribution was between the composers. Like, I wonder if like one of them sort of produces more and one of them, like, if they have totally separate functions, or if it's like,
Yeah,
one of them's like, I'll score this scene, I'll score the rest or something.
maybe I don't
I mean, I
know.
don't I don't
Well,
think this necessarily happened, but it would be funny if like it just was two different, like just the other composer did this part.
I want this one right here.
I'll do all the comical parts. I'll do all the themes. That's funny. Okay,
Totally.
if you which one would you do if you were on a composing team and you had to choose to either like come up with the themes, the sweeping, catchy whatever motifs, or score sections like this, what would you prefer?
Ooh, I would want personally either something like this, more comical thing, or the chase sequence, a more actiony
This
kind
is
of thing
fascinating.
where we're less
Chat,
about.
Jonah,
Uh,
what would you prefer if you were composing? Okay, keep talking.
no, that just where it's a little bit more chaotic and a little bit more. Let's just go places and like moment kind of a thing, versus thinking of these big sweeping grandiose stuff. What about you?
Absolutely the opposite. Totally the opposite. I don't like scoring parts like and I don't like scoring action. Like it's too hard.
You have to keep moving.
Okay,
It's
if we're ever on a
crazy.
composing team, I'll
We
take
got
this.
this.
I'll take the themes. I'll do like I'll try not to go all the way. Like honestly, the thing about Village Bride that sort of like I felt bad. I felt like bad talking about it because I was like, this is something I totally would do. um, yeah, I'm a theme writer. I'm like yeah.
Yeah, I'm a texture and chaos is my kind
Jonah
of
doesn't
thing.
want to choose. All right,
I want to choose.
All right, Jonah's scoring the whole thing.
All
Cool.
right, got this. But actually, I want to point out what you have up here with Jonas saying. I kind of got prequel vibes during the final fight. There's one
Yeah.
part that just every time I hear it that I've been listening to the soundtrack, it's the
That
kind
one
of a thing.
reminds me of The Last Jedi.
Ooh, ooh,
Like,
which
okay,
part?
wait. Sorry, my microphone's.
It's okay. The
Like,
mm,
that makes me just like want to sing Kylo Ren's theme on top of it. But I think that probably is a prequel thing.
I see because there's a part now. I didn't have a chance to go back through the prequel soundtracks to find the part, but there's a part distinct in one of those soundtracks that goes that same
Yeah,
kind of thing. I want to say it's right before they fight Darth Maul, but uh,
that was another motif. Was it in the lightsaber track?
yeah,
Yeah,
this was
yeah, yeah,
this is
yeah.
one of their
I didn't. Or what really defined it for me was that it like it's that leading tone is so distinct, and that was definitely one of the, I guess, motifs or like in this episode. A lot of that.
yeah.
Huh. Jonah says yes, that. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
talking about the
I'm
same
I'm
thing.
I'm trying
It
to
sounds
figure
so
out
much like the
where it
prequels,
is
but I
too.
don't know where.
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it.
I know it's definitely in The Last Jedi too, but it. No, I
And
know.
then it dies down, and you get the cha cha cha, dum 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 cha 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 for the Darth Maul Sith chant. That's what I call it.
Oh, I think at one point did it go like did it ever
I
go
think so. Maybe there's a lot in that.
oh my gosh, there's too much.
There's so much in this Attack 2, Phantom Menace,
Oh my gosh.
Naboo in the Palace.
Yeah, there was just really so much that reminded me of other things. It would have taken a while to find them, although I'm surprised that I don't know just from listening like where. I think if I like focused on it and tried to think visually where in the films this happens, the prequels, okay. I just keep thinking of The Last Jedi because because of the season of Star Wars Music
Right.
Minute. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I'd
Something
have
that
to
I
find
wrote
it.
something that I wrote down during the xylophone asteroid type of scale stuff
Hmm.
was, were you getting like Endor vibes visually?
Visually, yes.
Yeah, definitely not musically, but visually I was like, I was wondering if it was a intentional visual homage to Endor. I don't know, it was beautiful.
It kind of makes sense too because I felt that the speeder bike chase, which me and speeder
Right,
bikes,
and the speeder, of course, and the speeder bikes. Yeah, yeah. I
the
think
speeder
maybe
bike
that's why I
chase
thought of
is a
Endor.
big shout out to the Endor scene, kind of a thing, except this time snowy. um, which I thought was good, and that had all that chase music involved, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Um. Okay. The Dorian. I want to go back to the Dorian thing because
Hmm.
I don't because I don't actually think that's like super Star Warsy. Why does it make me feel, except for Rey's thing? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It feels Star Warsy, but it felt like it gave me Village Bride vibes almost. Not necessarily in the actual harmony. I'm trying to remember how Village Bride even went. No, no, that was different.
Except
No,
for like,
no, Village Bride was a totally different vibe. But it was something about. Okay, I think what it is something about the fact that it like just went back and forth
hmm,
between between like just the fact that it was like the knob was dialed up so much of this like one aspect. I don't know. Does it, like, it wasn't a transitional moment. It was like, we're going to
very
do
much,
this.
yeah,
Like last week when we were just like playing the chords over and over again on loop because that's how it went in the episode. Like,
yeah.
this is sort of, it was sort of like that.
It's got that feel to it, yeah.
And sort of like, and I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. Where it just
Aw,
keeps again.
yeah.
I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very. It was very okay. It was pop aesthetics
Yeah, I
there.
would agree with that. Yeah, it's the block chord back and forth repetition
It was like
kind of
sea
feel.
shanty almost too. It was like folk, and it was folk aesthetics. Like
Yeah,
when I say
it did.
pop, I don't mean necessarily pop music, but I mean like I mean it was like an aesthetic of people being able to like play it easily. That's not even what I mean. What do I mean, Like that's like something
It's
you could play that on the guitar. And you could hum the Ninth Jedi soundtrack. You can't do that with most other, you can't do that with a lot of like Star Wars themes. There's so many chord changes and so many
yeah.
like.
I think it must be the chords that were chosen. The ones that you're going back and forth, and the way that folk music, folksy feeling, that kind of thing, can do so much with the melody on top without ever really leaving those chords, which is something I always found fascinating about songs.
I was gonna
As
say
how
it might not be the genre so much as like, I mean
it's
it's a
sing-songy.
song thing because
Yeah,
song
it's song.
cycles do that too.
Yeah. We cycle the same chords, but we can do so much with the melody on top that we almost don't even notice that the chords are the same.
Yeah, because you
We're
have like
going.
verses. Yeah,
Hmm.
so it was like, yes, this was like verse structure, or like, I don't know what's it called, like strophic. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm not good
Okay.
at forms, but
BBA, BBVA, CCC.
it was song. It was like kind of like a song. I don't know. It was like super catchy in a different way than Village Bride, but also in a similar way.
Yeah.
Like it definitely was. Um, Bill Rudd says folk more like
Folk.
Sierra Hull version of Mad World. What is Sierra Hull?
um, an artist, aren't they?
I don't know, but
Sierra Hall.
But Ninth Jedi was
Like it's
like
a folky.
some sort of Star Wars version of Mad. Or it was like some sort of symphonic version of Mad World.
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, she's a singer.
Oh, okay, okay.
She's a singer, folksy, acoustic guitar kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, something that I wanted to point out was, well, first of all, we were doing this for Bad Batch at the beginning, but do you think this was a live orchestra?
It felt live to me. It felt more produced and mixed in a way. So in a way that to me it sounded like things could have been recorded separately, but and then arranged on top of each other in a way. But it felt live to me. None of it felt like it was a sampled score. Just a very well mixed, produced, uh, post produced score.
Chat, what do you think? Do you think this was live, an actual orchestra or like actual live players, or do you think this was computer samples? Apparently, Sierra Hall is a mandolinist too, by the way, which is
Oh,
super cool. Mandolin and violin and flute share a lot of the same notes.
yes, they do. I love mandolins though.
I used to be in a band with a mandolinist,
Oh,
and
that's
we shared
great.
a lot of the same. Sometimes we would double each other. Yeah. Um, I think it was live as well. And I, this is like so hard to talk about because how do we know? Well, some things that tipped me off were some of the intonation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there was pitchiness. It was pitchy sometimes, and I liked that.
I agree with you. It had there's a and we've talked about this definitely with the band Batch. This imperfection is what
Yeah.
I want to say.
Yep.
Imperfection of humans playing. You can there's not just the notes aren't just correct. It's they're not perfectly placed. They're not
Yeah.
perfectly in tune, and there's an emotive quality to it.
Yeah.
The flutes are what tip me off for me. It's flutes and French horns that when I hear those, for some reason that'll like give it to me as a feel to me if it's a live score. Maybe that's just what I'm looking for. Um, there's an emotion in there that's not just programmed because I could program something in a DAW with a flute, a really nice sounding flute sample or violin sample, and
And
make it
it might sound
emote.
perfect.
It might sound perfect and make it emote in a way that I want it to get across. But I don't know. This had it was a very emotional score. At least emotional is in the sense that like not because
So you think it
sometimes
was
when we say
live is the point.
yeah, yeah, it was live. Because sometimes when we say emotional, there's like a
Yeah, cuz like who
stigmata to say that it's sad, but it's like emotion isn't like it's moving. It was
yeah.
live.
So like
Like
I'm
we,
pretty so it sounded live to me as well, and I tend to I mean the the strings and woodwinds give it away more so than percussion and piano, which are really good, easy to fake depending on the instrument. Much easier than like strings and winds. Um, I think brass too, but
hmm
definitely with the violins, like I can't play examples here because copyright claims, but I tweeted a couple examples today on the Star Wars Music Minute Twitter, Star Wars Museman. And it was just because I happened to be listening to this track at the time. It's not like I went through them all and like picked out these examples. It was just like, oh, hey, I'm listening to this. Oh, wow, there's some wonky pitch right here, blah, blah, blah. And there's just like tiny, there's like a little margin of error. There's a acceptable margin of error pitch wise when you're playing in an ensemble. Like, or even by yourself, like
Mm-hmm.
sort of like how we were talking about like the ornament notes and the sort of passing tones and versus the guide pitches. Like there's a pretty good like margin of error that people will take. So I'm trying to play out of tune on purpose now. Like if I played this note a little sharp, like this, where it should be, or it should be. We're getting into very tiny differences. Do you see what I mean? Like, but they are
Yeah,
tiny differences. That's the thing. They are tiny differences where I don't think I'm gonna play this 3 times and tell me if you could tell which one was more in tune and more not. And the thing is, like, if I were at a violin competition or like if I were, I don't know, playing a concert or something, those could all theoretically be correct answers. Like, no one would be like, "Oh, you missed a note." Like, they're all like the notes were all there. I
mm-hmm.
didn't miss any notes, but there's just a tiny margin of error. You know, like when you, it's sort of like having it's sort of like having choreography, like live, you know, people dancing together or something, and like everyone's together, but it's not like a robot. Like there still are like super tiny differences between the way everyone does it. And so there were parts where the pitch was like I could tell that people were playing the same note, but like some interpreted, or you know, some people their finger landed a little bit higher than others, and so
Mm-hmm.
it just created something with more, you know, more beating, and you know, it created a note that was right, but it had more texture in it.
Absolutely. Unlike something perhaps like a piano, for example, that's tuned in such a specific way that every time I hit the same key, it's unless we start detuning the heck out of it, it's gonna be the same every time. Same with it's a technique we use in synthesis too, is to purposely detune a note
Yep.
a little bit, or just add ooh, the tiniest little bit of yeah, a little bit. Yeah, the chorus effect, yes. Or add just a little bit of a fluctuation with the pitch, just minute, and it gives it a little bit more of a human quality to it, a little bit more. We say analog in the synth world because original analog synthesizers were notorious for going out of tune on themselves
Mm-hmm.
because it's circuits. It's not a digital computer on the inside being perfect every single time. Um, so even in Logic Pro, the DAW computer writing software, music software, Logic Pro, if you open up their uh, software instruments, there's sometimes a knob that's actually just called analog, and as you turn it up, it starts making adding mistakes to your notes a little bit. Kind of a thing. And actually, funny enough, in when you're working with MIDI, so MIDI is in the writing out the notes for a software instrument like a string ensemble. Like say we're scoring something using that.
It's like
There's a
MIDI is like a digital placeholder for the information of notes.
exactly they tell us
And
when
then
to
you can
play, when to
overlay
stop
different
playing.
instruments on top of the data, and the data is the notes.
Exactly. There's a fun little feature in Logic where you can called Midi Transform. So you can do things like invert, make it longer, make it shorter without having to rewrite it. But
Mm-hmm.
my favorite one, which I will openly admit I like to use all the time, is the Humanize option.
Oh, interesting.
And
What does it
all
do?
it does,
What is
all
it? Is
it
it a
does,
plugin or?
it's built right into Logic. It's a kind of a plugin, and you highlight all the notes that you want to humanize, and it either adds, again, in data world, it either adds or subtracts a little bit of the position and a little bit of the velocity, so the strength of a note, in a way, the
Because you can
loudness of the note.
manually do that, but it just does it like with an algorithm or
Absolutely. so
something.
it, so it just does it randomly to each note, so you get these little minor imperfections all of a sudden.
I want to try it.
uh, it's fun. uh, Yep.
Okay, now where do I find this?
In Logic?
Yeah, I have Logic open right now. That's what I'm playing on.
Logic. If you put it in Logic and you write in some MIDI on a MIDI region, one of the green MIDI regions,
Okay, yeah.
and
Hmm.
you open up the piano scroll,
Okay. First of all,
there is.
everyone, by the way, I'll play what I just. Now, if I just
Yeah, so you open up the piano
like
scroll
I
where you can.
can change. I can totally just like change what I just played.
Yeah.
Like you just. All right.
So you've drawn in your notes. You can highlight them. Just click and drag and highlight. And right inside that piano scroll little arrangement window, under the tab that says Functions or the drop-down menu that says Functions, there's an option that says
Oh, Midi Transform. I see
MIDI
it.
Transform, and then
Humanize.
right in the middle is Humanize, and it pops up a thing, and you say
Oh
Select and
my
Apply.
god.
You
This
can
is
write your
amazing.
own, and then I usually hit Humanize like 2 or 3 times, and it just keeps applying the same thing to
That's
it. You could really mess it up too with Humanize, which is
hilarious.
funny. Um, it's
Oh my god.
I like doing it to percussion.
You would need a lot of that to fix this. That's interesting. Like I can't really hear a difference, but that's because sounds so fake. But that's the
Mhm.
thing. It's really hard for software instruments to sound human, and so that's why there are like these functions and algorithms um, to help composers make their stuff sound more real when they don't have real orchestras. But here, definitely, it was live. Yeah,
Yeah,
and Bill says it was. The, it's a live orchestra at the Kawasaki Hall. Where?
I was like, oh,
Huh. Cool. I'll look that up. What else has been recorded there?
I don't know.
I'm curious. Where all of these, where all of these recorded? Because I know each short was handled differently.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, okay, cool, yay. So that's that. That was fun.
Kawasaki, Kanagawa, Japan. Big
Nice.
concert hall. Love it.
That's awesome. Live music. Okay, go back to my notes. All right. Did you have anything else to? What were you, like? What else did you think about this? What do you think about the droid sounds?
I thought the
I know
droid
you
was
love the
funny.
droid.
Yeah, the droid was funny. Um, and 4 9s. They kept calling him 4 9. So would it his proper name or their
It's like
proper name be
99.99.
yeah 999999-9. Um, kind of a thing. I loved its little chirpiness in a way. I loved the apathy of the apathetic nature of the transport droid. Almost sounded like they gave him this, I guess, this kind of uh, uh,
Roz from
yeah, just
Monsters Inc.
apathetic, just yeah, Roz. Or I always think of maybe not as extreme that Marvin, the depressed robot from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
Oh,
voiced by Alan Rickman, which was just perfect for that
are
character.
there any other droids like that in Star Wars? I'm curious. I'm sure TV Tropes has a list of what trope that is. The bored,
The bored
disinterested,
sad droid.
either a droid or
Um,
like side character.
in Star Wars, wasn't there? No, no, just a similar voice. He wasn't bored though. He was just mean. Um, I'm
Who?
thinking of. I'm thinking of. I forget the droid's name, but it's in the original trilogy. In was it when they're in the Jawa? They get captured by the Jawas, and they're separate. He's separating C-3PO. It's like you will go this way, and it's like you will be a perfect present servant for our master, or something like that.
Oh, so
Maybe it's
evil droid.
yeah, evil droid. But he had this kind of I don't know of any other apathetic, bored unwilling to help droids
It
in
felt more
Star.
like in lines of the comedy. It felt more of the school of comedy that the score was at that point.
Right, right, absolutely. Um, and then the another great actually voice, because now this is reminding me of it was very droid-like, was the Jedi Hunter had that vocoded synthesized voice, very
Yeah.
similar to Cad Bane from the animated series, and there was another character that had a lot of vocoded kind of a voice to
Yes.
him.
Hmm. So, from
They
Clone Wars. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So they had that thing um, in there, and the I guess the main droid that was revealed to be Juro in the Margrave in the end kind of had this not apathetic nature, but almost again that mysterious, almost sinister kind of a thing. Like I don't care that you're all here. Feel to him, especially when he's like, "Is this what you?" It's like, does he have? It's like, did they actually make lightsabers? Like, what do you want proof? Here, is this what you want? Kind of a thing, which I guess was Juro himself kind of speaking through the droid because he wasn't revealed to be inside at the end. Um, uh, Oh, also, this is not quite musical, but I want to shout out another unique take on lightsabers, and the fact that
Yeah.
the color was associated to the Force wielder themselves versus the kyber crystal, which I guess in my mind was always what kind of helped the color um,
Hmm.
be the thing. So when Kara has a almost clear gray lightsaber. Um, uh, I thought that was interesting. And then when she makes a good connection to the Force. K2SO. Yes, Bill. Absolutely.
Oh,
K2SO.
K2SO. That's
Yes.
definitely what's that. That's what that was really. Oh my God. Of course.
I
Of
love.
course. Of course. Of
Oh,
course.
yes. And AP5. Yes. From Rebels.
AP5. Okay.
Yeah, the lightsabers have, which was great because it played into the big plot twist in this episode when it was revealed all the other Jedi's except Ethan, which I thought was an interesting character name
Name.
for Ethan. Um, Nothing against that name, just it was just like Ethan. Okay, um, cool. And Jiro, and then Jima, and Kara, and Ethan. Kind of a thing.
Is Ethan
That was a big.
biblical?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember.
Oh, it might be. It might be.
Jason is. Um, but yeah, that was revealed when they all light the lightsabers and it's all red, and they're all revealed to be Sith or Sith followers. I thought that was a great twist, and then Kara gets her color, and then one of the who we thought was an enemy Jedi, uh, a Sith Jedi, later on starts fighting with a purple and is revealed to be a good Jedi, or at least on the light side, uh, working with the Margrave at the end, the very tall alien
Yeah.
one, which I thought was interesting. Um, Also, thank you. Sorry, I'm jumping around now. Back to the sounds. There were a couple sounds that really stuck out to me. And one I liked when they entered the Jedi Temple, and there's that big beam in the middle, and had this very low synthesized boom.
Mm,
It wasn't constant. It was kind of this very
like
slow wave
live.
coming in and out, and there was this kind of metal bell in the background. I don't know if you noticed that. There's just this tum,
Mm-hmm.
tum, almost like a temple bell in a way, which I thought was a very nice touch. And then going back to the giant beam, when Juro saves Kara and throws the other Jedi into the flames or the beam, kind of a thing. It had this. I don't know when the character, the enemy, bursts into, I want to say, flames, laser, whatever the heck happened to him. The sound was really interesting to me. It had this. What did I write? It was high pitched, crystally, and burning, all at the same time. It had
Ooh,
this
crystalline burning. That's a good way to describe it.
like crystal burn, this glassy. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Kind of a feel to it. I thought that was really an interesting sound effect. And then of course we had some classics like the lightsabers and the speeder bikes in there.
So Ethan appears in the Bible in the Hebrew Bible 8 times and
Oh,
called. Okay, this is just I just Googled Ethan biblical, but this is probably a coincidence. But just check this out. Okay, Ethan means strong and optimistic, solid and enduring, permanent. Um, Called Ethan the Ezrahite.
ah,
All right, I'm done. But
that's
had to throw that in there. It's
that's great.
what does it mean, everyone? What does
What
it
does it
mean?
mean?
The Ezrahite.
That's
Um, what did you think of the lightsaber thing? And also, what did you think of the ending?
Oh,
The
and I thought
ending,
they,
like, how have we not talked about the ending yet? Like, the ending was so strange
yeah, it was. We were left on a
and
solid.
musically really strange to me.
It ends
Like,
on
it made
a
me laugh. It made me laugh. It made me laugh.
dun
Dun.
dun 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 dun.
It just like it just
And
had
we're
to
done.
add that last 3 note tag. It just had dun dun dun.
Yes, the ending was. Yeah, we were left on this really interesting, optimistic cliffhanger. Anyway, your dad's captured, but of course we're gonna go help. You're the Ninth Jedi. Join my side. Another one that would warrant a great second episode. Um, to see what would happen, but yeah, it was a bizarre ending. It was a very bizarre ending. Um,
Jonah, I've
we,
heard of this, and I think that's a really cool concept. There was okay. Jonah says, "Fun fact: there was a deleted concept from Return of the Jedi where the color of a lightsaber reflected who used it. Used it when Vader held Luke's lightsaber. It turned red originally, and I believe the reason
ooh,
they didn't do it was like because George Lucas thought it would be confusing, which maybe it would
it
have,
was
maybe it would have. Although, I I I mean, if we try to think of like how that would play out if that's the concept that they went with, I don't know how it would have been confusing in some way, but illuminating in another way, you know?
mm-hmm.
Because it would if it were really that simple, then we would be able to see like color changes reflecting, different characters' inner states. Like think of how that would impact like Kylo Ren or something, or
Mm-hmm.
like Rey or like anyone who's questioning things. If we were able to see that visually, like reflected in their lightsaber changing,
That would be interesting,
or
and
even when
especially
you're fighting people. I mean, I don't know how like sensitive the original concept was, like if it could kind of flicker back and forth between things when you're in conflict, or like if it was kind of just, toggle it red, toggle it green, whatever. But like think about like when I would love to see what Ninth Jedi, okay. If there were a sequel, I would love to see what would happen like when people are actively in combat. Like I would love to see Jedi specifically. Like do they draw if they draw upon other aspects of the force that color their lightsaber differently when they're in battle. I can also see how that would become like a really terrible like purity concern with like, I saw your lightsaber have a
right.
flicker of red during training.
That would be interesting, and especially if we a scene like from Attack of the Clones and the Geonosis
Oh
thing
yeah.
where we have just this sea of blue and green lightsabers and one purple one. um,
Yeah.
uh, kind of a thing that would have been really interesting. Well, what you're mentioning though almost kind of happens in this episode because what I mentioned we had that
Oh yeah.
a really tall light Jedi. I don't know what species they were, but they were initially pretending to be Sith, and their lightsaber was red up until the very end when it turned purple. And he admits, "I'm so sorry. I was so clouded by everything around me. It was consuming me, or it had
Yeah.
consumed my judgment." So their lightsaber must have changed at some point. And actually, when they were fighting Ethan, it was purple for a second there at the very end. So I wonder if that was them coming back. I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting. That
I
would have
feel
been a
like
really
that would make
interesting.
me so scared to use my lightsaber. If I were a Jedi, I'd be like, that's like wearing your heart on your sleeve, Like,
Yeah, it's a
and
mood app.
Totally. And it's like a mood ring. And think of like people and think of like the public opinion of Jedi, you know, the Star Wars public opinion of Jedi sort of being like, Jedi think they're so good and whatever. And there probably are, and there are we know that there are nuances within the Jedi where a lot of them, especially in certain eras, like maybe know how to channel other aspects of the Force, you know, where um, maybe all of them would be like purple to an extent, or like, yeah, I mean, I can see how that would, I mean, I guess be purity wars, back to that, just like
Yeah,
the policing of lightsaber colors. Yeah, so I guess I'm glad that didn't really play out.
that would be interesting though. Definitely, that's definitely another interesting take on the kyber crystal, though,
Yeah,
and
and I
what that
like it.
means. Hmm.
Jonas says, I think the creator of this episode mentioned that he has ideas for the future if he gets the opportunity. I bet they all do. I mean, don't you think like any good story, the people who create the characters kind of have like a vision for it, and then what ends up being on screen is like a part of their journey, just like Star Wars itself, you know?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so too. Visions, which would be interesting too, because if there was a second season of Visions, whether they would want to choose 9 more studios to create their own and keep that trend, or if it was they would ask for a continuation of or a prequel to these stories in a way to connect them. That would be an interesting take. Both in good directions, I would say. I would personally want more original content
Me too.
personally,
I would prefer new stories.
because I like wondering.
Me too. Me too. Me too. Yeah.
Kind of a thing. I don't think everything needs to be continued, and
Same. Same.
yeah.
We don't need that. A mood saber. Oh, yeah. That would be cool as a novelty concept. I'm curious what the further ideas that the creator has are. Um, and I know some people have talked about like how they didn't like the concept of it, or they're glad it's not canon
Hmm.
because, I mean, they just don't like that that's how kyber crystals work. But I wonder if there's a way that that could, it could, like, both could be true, or like, you know, both could be right, or both under different circumstances. I guess what I'm saying is like, I don't know enough about the technology of what's going on in universe to know that there isn't something else about lightsaber creation crafting that can be modulated. Like maybe it's super unstable like that until um you know, they developed a piece that goes in the lightsaber where it where it maintains the color once it's set or something like that, you know. We don't know.
Totally, and whether why were these certain colors chosen? I mean, besides, and it just became natural for the bad guy, I guess, or the villain to have a red lightsaber. But wouldn't that be a plot twist to have a Sith or a villain show up with
Green and
a
blue.
green all of a sudden, and that's how they hid among in the story for so long, that they were carrying a green, so everyone assumed that they were good. It was kind of like Ronin.
In the Ronin, yeah.
Huh?
Your lightsaber is red.
And they all thought he was a villain. All of a sudden, now they're like, "Oh my goodness, red lightsaber!" But he was more of a wandering,
That used to bother me a
helpful.
little bit as a kid, or not bother me, but like I actively thought about it. Like, how come all the Sith have red? Why is it? Why? Why can't Jedi have red? Or like, why
Right?
can't? Yeah.
The the one that bothered me was how come how come the Sith, like Darth Vader, the Empire, have a red lightsaber but green lasers, and then on
Oh
TIE
my god.
fighters, and then the X wings have red lasers but it's a green and blue lightsaber. I don't know. Uh,
All ships must be modified.
I was
That's
thought
really
that one was good.
that's
Um,
funny. Yeah. And what does
uh,
that mean for Mace Windu? I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are canon explanations due
right.
to Mace Windu's fighting style and everything, but still, it is interesting. And I love how this episode approached even though the duel was not just about lightsabers and lightsaber colors, the fact that there was that line, "Your lightsaber is red," and it was in such a context that that was supposed to be an illuminating
Mm-hmm.
observation, where it's clear that that meant something. Like, I think it's interesting that this episode also approached what the color of lightsaber, what the meaning of it, what the symbolism is of it, and ultimately, like, they both creators seem to agree that red is bad, or red is Sith, red is evil, whatever, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Red is the bad guys. Um, yeah, I think I would be interested to see like a take on lightsabers um that doesn't rely on the like presupposition that
Mm-hmm.
red has to, like, I would like to see, not just for the sake of seeing it, like I don't want to just randomly see a character like that. Like, I want an exploration of it. If someone has something to say about it. Like, I don't need it,
Yeah,
but if someone had a story to tell about that, then I would be interested to hear it.
I think that'd be interesting too, especially with when we were watching Village Bride, the Jedi had a yellow lightsaber. What does that mean? Uh,
Right. Oh yeah, and then again when we get to like Ahsoka and other
mm-hmm.
characters, yeah, we haven't really explored so much the meaning of other colors yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be interested too. And also, like, I think about like what happens if, like, I don't know, what if Obi-Wan were like, I meant to give you your father's lightsaber, but it were red, but like that was the only lightsaber that he had.
Right.
Um I don't know, what if you inherit a red lightsaber?
I don't know. That'd be,
Conveniently, that just hasn't happened to my knowledge. But anyway,
how do we know?
yeah. All
Good
right.
stuff.
Good stuff. Gotta love that ending. Dun dun dun.
Major chord.
A really declarative ending orchestral statement.
Mm-hmm.
Funny. I bet that they had to think some time of like, are we gonna keep that or not? We'll do an option with it. We'll do an option without it. I'm sure it just came down to what the director wanted.
Well, it was yeah. Director wanted, and since it was so reminiscent of of Star Wars movie scores, there's definitely isn't there
It
in
did
Star
not.
Wars they have a brum, bum 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 bum. There's got to be one
Yes,
of
yes,
those
yes,
somewhere.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Wouldn't
the
be
way it was just like it felt really extreme.
yeah.
But I think
I
a
would
lot
agree
of
with
these Visions episodes have had extreme parts, like the Holdo thing in the last episode or two
that.
episodes ago. And I think that's also part of the point. Like, this was like, we know what we're doing and we're going to do a lot of it. Sort of like with the Dorian mode chord changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know what we're doing. We're going to do a lot of it. Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for
And
and thank you Justin for talking about the Ninth Jedi today. We are halfway through, like about halfway through, a little more. We're more than halfway through
yeah, more than halfway.
the
More
Visions
than halfway.
episodes. The next one will be Toby, right? Or Tob
Yep. TOB
Tob
three
one
one.
Tobi. What is it? T0. Oh, numbers and letters.
Ah,
Toby.
that
Toby.
episode.
Toby with numbers and letters.
The Astro Boy episode.
Yes. And we will be skipping Halloween weekend,
Yes, we'll be
and we
back
will
in
be
two
back
weeks.
in 2 weeks on the Saturday the 6th. I'll schedule it on YouTube so that you can see the exact date and all of that. And James will be back.
We'll be back.
All right. Well,
Like
thank you. It's been fun. And
our ending.